RRF Musica.
All right, so for this deep dive, we're jumping into the world of Mario Molinari, who you almost certainly know as Tedua.
A huge name.
Yeah.
For anyone following Italian music, he's one of the guys who really pioneered the trap and drill sound over there.
Exactly. But the more we synthesized the sources, the clearer it became that genre pioneer is. Well, it's just the surface level.
Oh, absolutely. The real story with Tedua, the thing that makes him so fascinating, is this massive contradiction at the heart of his work. He comes from this incredibly tough, unstable background, foster homes, houses of welcome, all of it. But instead of just telling those raw street stories, he frames them using these incredibly highbrow literary concepts.
You're talking about linking his early work to a teen drama like The O.C. and his biggest album to Dante's Divina Commedia.
Exactly. He's using high literature to explain street reality. And that tension, balancing that gritty, street credibility with this deep literary ambition. That's what we're going to unpack.
Okay, so we've mapped out his journey from those early days in Genova and Milan. We've analyzed his very unique flow, and we've tracked how he got to this point of mainstream dominance. Let's start at the very beginning with Mario Molinari's story.
You have to start there. That instability, it's really the foundational narrative for everything that comes after. He was born in Genova in '94, but a really complicated family situation meant he was moved very, very early in life.
And he's been incredibly transparent about how tough that was, right?
Yeah.
That feeling of being rootless.
Yeah, and the sources give us some really specific, tough details. He lived with his mother at first in what's called a house of welcome. Then, from age 3, he was in 2 different foster families.
Wow. That kind of constant change with no real anchor, that's guaranteed to shape an artist.
It creates all the emotional material he draws on later. And what's really moving is that he keeps adding layers to that story. Like, we found out he only recently met his biological father for the first time.
And he put that straight into his music.
Straight into the song Jolly Roger on his latest release. So you see, you can't separate the trauma of his youth from the ambition in his art. They're totally intertwined.
And the geography of his youth is just as complex. After Milan, he eventually goes back to Liguria, to a town called Cogoleto. That return seems critical.
It was the Crucible. That's where he found his tribe. In Cogoleto, in these peripheral working-class neighborhoods, he formed the relationships that would define his early career.
This is where Wild Bandana comes from.
This is exactly where Wild Bandana was born, with Easy Vaste, Gesson, Il Rave. Those friendships became the stable foundation he never had as a young kid.
And his name, Tedua, that's a product of that specific street culture too, isn't it?
It is, yeah. A great little linguistic snapshot. So his first name was Incubo, then he went by Duarte. Tedua is just Duarte inverted. It's a type of Milanese slang called Rio Contra.
Okay, so for anyone listening who isn't familiar, it's kind of like the French verlan where you flip syllables around.
Precisely. It's a street code, which is important because it completely debunks that persistent rumor you see online.
That it means I love you in Albanian.
Right, which is false. It's pure Milanese street slang. It roots him right there. And to cap off that whole period, you gotta remember who he was surrounded by even back in school in Milan.
His network was already forming.
Yeah, he was school friends with Gali, Riccomi, Ernia, basically the future titans of Italian urban music.
And that network paid off. It was actually Riccomi who invited him back to Milan in 2015, and that move kicks off his real breakthrough, the Orange County era.
And the output was just relentless. First, the free mixtape Aspettando Orange County, then the Orange County mixtape, and finally the official studio album in 2017, Orange County, California.
Which went double platinum. That was his launch into the mainstream.
A massive launch.
Yeah.
And he had the best producers in the game behind him. Charlie Charles, Sick Luke, Chris Nolan. They crafted that early, gritty sound he became known for.
But this is where it gets weirdly interesting. The cinematic frame he chose. Orange County.
I find this part fascinating. Why would a raw, up-and-coming Italian drill artist name his breakout project after a glossy American teen drama from the early 2000s? On paper, it makes no sense.
Was it just a clever marketing hook, or was there something deeper going on?
No, it was deeply personal for him. He said the trilogy was directly inspired by the O.C. Specifically, he identified with the character Ryan Atwood.
The kid from Chino who gets dropped into wealthy Newport Beach.
Exactly. For Tedua, Ryan's journey from a rough, working-class area to this affluent, high-stakes world was a perfect metaphor for his own move from Cogoleto back to Milan.
So it gives the whole project this this universal narrative structure about class and identity. He's not just a local rapper anymore. He's telling a story everyone can recognize.
He's using a pop culture touchstone to explain his own life. And that period didn't just cement his success, it cemented the whole new wave. You have to mention the 2017 single Bimbi.
With Easy, Grokomi, Sfera Ebbasta, and Gali, the whole crew on one track.
A monster track. That was the moment the entire new generation of Italian rap announced, we're here and we're taking over.
The success was undeniable, but what really set Tedua apart, even then, wasn't just his stories, it was his voice, his flow. Let's get into that, because it was controversial.
This is the absolute core of his artistry, and it's where I think innovation was really misunderstood at first. Early critics heard his delivery and called it out of time or offbeat.
So they thought he was just bad at rapping, that he couldn't stay on rhythm.
Pretty much. They described his flow as acrobatic and syncopated, but not in a good way. They thought it was a flaw.
But for him, it was a deliberate choice.
Completely deliberate. He calls it a jazzistic vocal technique. The analogy I'd use is a drummer who isn't just hitting the backbeat. He's playing all around the rhythm, hitting unexpected accents.
He's trying to create a mood, not just a beat.
Exactly. He wants to create what he calls an on-near extreme of consciousness. It's a dreamlike, rambling flow that's supposed to mirror the emotional chaos of the lyrics. He plays with pauses, with accents. It's very intentional.
Where did that style come from? Who are his influences for that?
Well, he was definitely taking cues from American drill artists, people like Chief Keef and Mano, who were known for breaking rhythmic expectations. But the key thing is, he blended that with a very Italian influence.
Dargen D'Amico.
The one and only. Dargen D'Amico is famous for that stream of consciousness style, and Tedua's influence was explicit. He didn't just mention him. He sampled D'Amico's crack Malpensandoti on his own song Aqua.
So he's taking the storytelling of Italian legends like Gay and Club Dogo, but delivering it with the rhythmic volatility of US drill.
That's the perfect way to put it. And his sound palette is just as broad. He's a pioneer of trap and drill for sure, but producers like Chris Nolan and Shun help him fold in R&B, pop rap, even the kind of sad, reflective sound of lo-fi hip-hop.
It makes him impossible to pin down. He's got the street cred, but he's wrapping it in these complex cultural references.
And that literary ambition just explodes after the Orange County era. Which brings us to the 2018 album Mowgli.
A huge moment for him, critically.
Massive. It hit #1, of course, but more importantly, it was praised for moving way beyond the standard trap sound. And it won the Premio Lunizia for its musical literary value.
So the establishment was starting to recognize his writing as something serious.
They were, but then everything stalled. He hit this period of real turbulence before his next big project.
Right. The third album was planned for 2020, but the pandemic hit.
The pandemic hit, tours were canceled, and he had major disagreements with his label over promotion. It created this huge creative block for him.
He called that whole period his inferno, his hell. Which is, that's a heavy thing to say about a delayed album. It was clearly a deep personal crisis.
And that creative hell sets the stage perfectly for his masterpiece. When he finally emerges in 2023, he names the album La Divina Commedia.
Dante's Divine Comedy. You don't pick a title like that unless you have something huge to say.
You're making a statement. He framed the album as his purgatorio, his journey through the fire, the process of self-realization, to figure out who he was as an artist. He was drawing a line between people who just do art and people who are artists.
And the commercial result was just total domination.
Utter domination. Debuted at #1, 4x platinum by the end of the year. At one point, 8 of the album's 16 songs were in the top 10 singles chart at the same time.
That's not just a hit album, that's cultural saturation.
And look at the collaborators. Marrakesh, Salmo, Laza, Gay, Sfera Ebbasta. Basically a roll call of Italian rap royalty. It was him planting his flag at the very top.
And he used that platform to address the critics head on.
He did. He made that incredible statement. I would rather be a fake intellectual than a fake criminal. He was basically declaring that writing, that literary ambition, was now his top priority.
And that led to maybe the wildest reaction of all.
Without a doubt. The praise was so intense that some major critics actually suggested, pretty controversially, that the album should be nominated for the Premio Strega.
Wait, hold on. For anyone listening outside Italy, the Premio Strega is?
It is the most prestigious literary prize in the country. It's like the Pulitzer or the Booker Prize for fiction.
For a rap album.
For a rap album rooted in drill. The fact that it was even part of the conversation shows how completely he had transcended the genre.
He became a subject of high art. And he completes the trilogy with the Paradiso expansion in 2024.
which took him to his commercial peak. It included the mega hit Beatrice with Annalisa, which went straight to #1. The singleism is perfect. Dante's Beatrice is ideal, realized as a massive pop hit. Its high concept meets mass appeal.
And outside of music, he's making good on that early ambition to connect with cinema.
For sure. He's in the documentary La Nuova Scuola Genovese. He had a role in the film L'Ombra di Caravaggio. But the really significant partnership is with the photographer David LaChapelle.
That's a huge name. LaChapelle's a legend.
He is. And LaChapelle shot all the artwork for the Divina Commedia covers, and then featured Tedua as the protagonist in his photo exhibition, Stations of the Cross. That's not just a feature, that's validation. It positions him as a subject of fine art.
It's cross-cultural coronation. And it's not slowing down. The new single Chuniri is out, teasing the next chapter.
And in that music video, he dropped the ultimate confirmation of his status.
The San Siro date.
The San Siro date. A headlining concert in Milan's legendary stadium in June 2026. For an Italian musician, that's it. That's the summit.
It's funny, as he reaches this artistic peak, you also see the celebrity gossip machine kick in rumors about influencers, about other pop stars. It just shows how big his footprint has become.
He's a national figure now. The whole arc is there.
Yeah.
From the rough start in Genova and Milan to pioneering a genre to framing it all with Dante and finally to selling out San Siro.
But as you said at the top, that evolution has created a real dilemma for him.
It really has. His entire career has been this delicate balancing act, the street poet versus the pop artist. And his recent move toward more melodic, radio-friendly songs, especially on the Paradiso edition, has brought enormous success, but also a lot of criticism.
From the early fans, right? The ones who feel he's selling out to pop and abandoning that raw, onerous drill style that made him famous.
That's the central tension of his career right now. And it leaves us with a really provocative question. If Tedua sees La Divina Commedia as his purgatorio, the journey that led him to the commercial heaven of Paradiso and San Siro, well, here's the thought for you, the listener. Does reaching that absolute peak of the pop market, the #1 collaborations, the sold-out stadium tours, does that risk compromising the very raw, authentic, unconventional voice that made him a pioneer in the first place? It's the challenge every evolving artist faces.
A question to mull over next time you dive into his discography. A perfect place to leave it. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
RRF Musica.